Hi, we're going to go through my favorite roller exercises, trying to cover the whole body. So at home, hopefully you can follow along. We're going to start lengthwise on our mat. I've got my roller down with lots of space overhead for some arm movement. Making our way down on the roller, making sure that you sit right on the very end, and you can use your arms and legs to help that transition down. When we're lengthwise on the roller, both the pelvis and head should be supported, and we can take a moment just to enjoy that pressure of the roller along the length of the spine. As we start with a chest stretch, we can take our feet wide so you don't have to worry about balance. There's lots of variations of chest stretching. We could do nice open arms for that stretching. We could do elbows bent more around 90 degrees, or cactus arms we sometimes call them. While you're here, you can play around with different arm positions, so reaching overhead, reaching one arm at a time, just adding into some side body movement, making sure that you're not in a position of any pain in the shoulder. It can also be beneficial just to work through internal and external rotation of our arms, so gently rotating with the elbows at 90 back and forth. Again, not working through any pain, and just testing out our shoulder motion. Stay, take a deep breath in. Most of us have quite a bit of postural tension through our chest and shoulders, so that's why we started there. Now we're going to let our arms relax by the side and our feet are together. We're just letting the knees come open, so doing a really gentle inner thigh stretch. If at any time the hips cramp up, you can take a little break and then move back into the stretch. And you can see I've added in a small amount of sway just to change the angle of stretch slightly. Taking a long breath in. This should feel nice, maybe a little bit of work, but it should be comfortable. Here we'll come out of that stretch so we have our feet back planted on the mat, and we can roll to the side. So here I'm sliding the roller out from underneath of me and just resting on my back, enjoying that postural release from the pressure of the roller. Next, we're moving into hip flexors. So here, let's slide the roller behind the backs of our legs. We're going to bridge up so the back of the pelvis is on the roller, making sure that we don't have any back pain or pelvic pain as we rest there. Hugging one knee into chest, so giving this knee a good hug, reaching the other leg long and letting the heel settle down on the mat. So working not too hard. Some of us tend to have this leg lifted, but we want to let the leg soften and relax down. So we're staying for a few breaths on this side. If you like, you could add in an overhead arm reach just for a little bit of long side body fascial stretch. And the goal is to let this tight hip flexor soften. So as you get used to the stretch, you could always add in a little bit more pressure through that knee that you're hugging. Very gently, we're going to switch sides, hugging the other knee into the chest, reaching the other leg long. As I mentioned, letting go of the work, so letting the heel come down and rest. As long as our shoulder has the mobility, reaching overhead. And just taking a few breaths here. Sometimes we have one side that's a little bit tighter. You might stay a bit longer on that side. Try to relax with each inhale, so I'm not working on contracting during exhale. Just loosening up the legs. This is really great to do before a bridge series so that you have more mobility through your hip flexors. To come off, I've planted my feet. I'm going to bridge up and let my hips relax back down. So here I'm turning to my side to come up. We'll move back into everybody's favorite, I like to think, and work on our upper back mobility. So our thoracic spine is our mid-back in between our shoulder blades. Most of us have some stiffness there, particularly in extension. This exercise is to help us stand and sit a little bit taller. Here I have my fingers interlaced behind the back of my head. You can choose your elbow position. They can be wide. If you need more support, they can be a little bit more narrow. So my hips are just at a hover. And here I'm using my feet to push and pull, and I'm rolling through the back of my spine, really just at the level in between the shoulder blades, seeing if there's any trigger points in the muscles we can release. If you have an area of your spine that tends to be really stiff, you could even rest there and be more specific on working on the extension and flexion at that point. So doing a self-mobilization of the spine. And then I'm continuing to roll. It can feel good to lean a little to one side and get more pressure through one side of the rib cage and then the other as you're rolling. Resting the hips down here, turning to our side so we don't strain the neck as we come up. And then our fifth one, we're going to finish with some hip rolling. So we categorize this into one exercise, but we're covering 3 areas of our hip flexor, our glute med, side hip, piriformis, and our back glutes. So starting on this side, I've got the roller under the front of my hip, down on the elbows, my other knee's bent out to the side for support. And here we're just rolling through that high hip flexor tendon. So just my one hip's on the roller. We're nice and strong in the core and the upper body. And from here, if we want to transition into the side hip, we can turn to the side. So I planted this foot and I'm rolling through my side hip up into the glutes. Seeing if there's any spots that are tender that you can work through. You can switch this foot if you'd like to face a little bit more up to the ceiling and roll through the glutes. And each of us will like to spend a little bit longer in one particular position. Sometimes we travel when we're on the roller, so we'll recenter. Just due to space, I'm going to switch sides. So I've got my other hip on the roller. I call this the army crawl position, just to cue you to be face down. So I'm square with the mat with my shoulders and my pelvis, and I'm rolling through that high hip flexor tendon. Making our way around the hip. Again, rolling into the side hip, so I've planted this foot, and I'm rolling here, keeping lots of strength in this arm so I haven't collapsed into this shoulder joint. And then we can switch, place our foot behind, chest is a little bit more towards the ceiling, and I'm rolling through my glute. If you have a lot of glute tension, you can always finish and just work through those both sides at the end. So hopefully you get to know your roller a little bit more, and that takes you through feeling a bit better.